Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the local taxi cabs have a new GPS system, concerns on the effects of tariffs on softwood lumber, and a Make-A-Wish come true.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Friday, April 4th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news local to the Northwest. A new system will be in place for KLM cabs to track the trips of their drivers using an application called Fleetio, which they say will bring much more organization to the company. Here's Damian Smith with more.
Just over a year ago, changes in the management positions were made to KLM cabs to ensure that going forward, customer relations would be of the utmost priority.
And just last week, the company announced that they will be tracking the majority of details of each ride.
What we have installed is totally dedicated to check every part of the vehicle, like if there's a fast acceleration by the driver, if there's a crash, if there's a harsh braking, right? All those kind of things. And there's a trip history for more than 300 hours over there if we have to go check what's going on.
The company is not looking to stop just there, however. They are still looking to get through the Passenger Transportation Board of British Columbia to install new cameras in the vehicles to show authenticity in their rides, similar to what Uber, Lyft, and many other apps have applied around the world. And another component that they are heavily focused on going forward is a panic button for their drivers. With their office in Terrace, it doesn't mean that they won't be taking long-distance trips outside of the area.
So our main concern is some of the people make misconception about the taxi company, if something happened or not. We see anonymous post every day about the taxi company. So our main focus is to reach us first. That's why our main priority is to put the panic button and the camera and everything, so people will not say anything off the track.
Until recent memory, the company was in the wrong headlines this past September, where a man was killed in Thornhill by a driver who quickly fled back to his home country. And according to the company, these GPS systems were already in the works before the tragedy, which happened about 7 months ago.
At that time, it was not part of the system, but since we took over the company last April, we are looking to improve the system. So all these systems are new. GPS system just started last week. And for the future, if anything happens, we will know right away on that side.
From CFTK-TV, I'm Damian Smith.
In their weekly report that covered the final few days of March and the start of April, the Kitimat RCMP talked about an incident that they also used as an opportunity to give out some advice. A residential mailbox in the Nechako neighborhood got stolen, but thanks to some CCTV footage being able to capture the incident, police officers were able to identify the suspect in the case, find their location, and even return the package to its owner. The RCMP reminded people to not post crime photos or footage online, since it could end up jeopardizing an investigation in the future and also result in a guilty party going free. The proposed delay of the demolition of the historic Kinhut building was voted on at Terrace's most recent city council meeting. The main consideration was what could happen if they approved a recently proposed project that would delay the demolition of the former World War II Army Hospital by another year and would allow the Terrace and District Museum Society to conduct a structural assessment. Several councillors were not in favor of the delay. The Museum Society planned to avoid getting financial support from the city to do the project, and some councillors contested the idea. And while others were in favor of the delay, the final vote determined that demolition will go ahead as scheduled. The District of Kitimat and the Kitimat Chamber of Commerce have partnered up to look into if an outdoor market space in Kitimat's downtown area would be feasible or not. The Chamber and District have prepared a couple of surveys. One is meant for the general public to give their input, and the other is for prospective market vendors. This possible built-in market area would exist year-round. Funds from this study are coming from the Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program. Coming up next, how tariffs are expected to hit the auto industry. BC Premier David Eby says he will soon travel to Prince George to speak with forest industry representatives over concerns about how tariffs could devastate the province's softwood lumber sector. This trip comes in light of U.S. President Donald Trump's statements that America doesn't need Canadian lumber. Eby says it is critical for Prime Minister Mark Carney and the federal government to remember Western Canada and its concerns. He also says he will meet with Carney, who is set to visit BC in the coming days, noting softwood lumber will be among the top priorities when they speak. Here's CTV's Rob Buffum with more from the Premier on tariffs.
BC Premier David Eby was cautiously optimistic Thursday after Canada emerged largely unscathed from U.S. President Trump's global tariff assault.
I'm hopeful that this new constructive relationship that appears to be evolving between the Prime Minister and the President means some stability.
Eby met virtually with Prime Minister Carney and the other premiers.
Congratulate him on what appears to be a de-escalation for now with the President. I'm grateful for that. The second is that we can't trust it.
Although no new tariffs landed on Canadian soil, the Kitimat aluminum smelter is subject to the existing 25% tariffs. BC does make some auto parts, and many in this province are already potentially impacted by the major hits to the stock markets.
The chaos from the President's announcement yesterday is equivalent to trying to cook a steak but burning down the entire house.
The Premier remains concerned that Trump will hammer our softwood lumber with tariffs on top of the existing 14% duties.
My concern is that the President has committed to targeting our softwood lumber industry, even more than the Americans already have.
American booze will stay off BC liquor stores, and the Premier says more measures to fight back are needed. The NDP pushing ahead Thursday with legislation allowing it to toll commercial trucks heading to Alaska, remove barriers to interprovincial trade, and direct government to avoid American products.
If you don't have the tools to respond to a bully, if you don't stand up to the bully, then the bully only comes back for more.
The opposition BC Conservatives support streamlining interprovincial trade, but want BC to also improve its tax scheme. Otherwise, they say, we'll lose workers to other provinces.
Absolutely need to remove those regulatory and compliance hurdles with interprovincial trade barriers, but we also have to have a competitive tax regime at the same time.
Eby will meet with Prime Minister Carney in person next week when he comes to BC. Eby says he'll push to keep BC's needs prioritized in Team Canada's trade war response.
The tariff saga continues, and new measures seem to come into play each day. Here's CTV's St. Jean Alexander with an update.
Defiant as ever and doubling down, Trump insisted everything is unfolding as he expected.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation. Like when a patient gets operated on.
Yet the world wonders why the surgeon was called in the first place.
U.S. tech, it is getting slashed right now.
Dow is off 1,170 points.
We are witnessing a market meltdown.
As Trump's sweeping global tariffs has world leaders responding with anger, calling for unity and a suspension in U.S. investment.
This is not the act of a friend.
Canada is hitting back by slapping a 25% levy on non-compliant cars made in the U.S.
We will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
Once again, Mark Carney took a break from the campaign, the other leaders offering their trade war strategies.
We've got to fight back and make sure that we are building a stronger economy in our country, and that means building Canadian and buying Canadian.
On my first day on the job as Prime Minister, I will call the President and demand that we rapidly renegotiate the CUSMA agreement.
The president certainly has his supporters, but his levies are being widely mocked on social media. After all, there's a 10% tariff on an island inhabited by penguins.
Let's think what else we can liberate ourselves from very strongly. How about exit signs?
What happens when prices go up? Sales tend to go down. What happens when sales go down? People get fired.
Carney calls the tariffs misguided and unjustified and sure to rupture the global economy.
We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
Trump maintains his tariffs will bring jobs to the U.S. and trillions of dollars will soon roll in. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
And as tariffs begin, we know that one of the hardest hit industries will be the automobile industry. Here's CTV's Craig Krause.
Welcome to Key West Ford.
Selling new and used vehicles is typically a two-way street.
I love these things. They've even got room in here for a big guy like me.
It takes curious customers and charming salesmanship, but closing the deal is about to become a bit more challenging as the United States slams its northern neighbor with a 25% tariff on Canadian-made automobiles.
Everything's being affected. Everything is up in the air right now, and it seems to change from day to day to day.
Uncertainty leading to buyer anxiety. A new survey conducted by AutoZen found 73% of British Columbians are worried about finding reasonable new car options amidst the current economic uncertainty due to tariffs, and 82% believe the price of used cars will increase over the next 12 months.
Usually when you see sentiment that high, that alone can drive price increases.
Something American car dealerships are also bracing for.
The industry is predicting that new car prices will go up anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 per vehicle.
Word of this made its way up to BC. The New Car Dealers Association in the province say sales last month increased more than 11% year over year.
In large part prompted by the uncertainty and the prospect of the tariffs, consumers deciding that, geez, I better lock in pricing and availability right now.
Prices that industry experts say aren't going down anytime soon.
Pull the trigger. If you're thinking about it and you're hemming and hawing, do it. Don't wait.
Craig Krause, CTV News, New Westminster.
Turning to the weather, the moon's current phase for today and tonight is a waxing crescent phase at 45% illumination. The sun rose at 6:59 a.m. this morning and will set at 8:16 p.m. Tonight on the north coast, expect conditions to be cloudy with winds coming from the southeast at 20 kilometers an hour, a low of +8 degrees. For the next few days on the north coast, expect temperatures in the 8 to 10 degree range and periods of rain and showers. Overnight lows in the 4 to 7 degree range. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, conditions are looking mainly cloudy, some 20 kilometer an hour winds before morning, a low of +4 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, temperatures will sit in the 7 to 12 degree range with some sunshine Saturday, but clouds coming in and sticking around for the weekend, with some rain expected as well. Overnight lows in the 2 to 7 degree range. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a few clouds and a low of -6 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect sunshine and a high of 16 degrees Saturday, with the clouds coming in on Sunday and a chance of showers, remaining cloudy through the beginning of the week. Temperatures in the 12 to 16 degree range and overnight lows sitting between freezing and 4 degrees. Checking your highways around the Northwest region now. On Highway 16 on Haida Gwaii in both directions, the bridge is damaged between East Cedar Ave and Baytush Road. On the mainland, there's utility work between Rainbow Avalanche Gates and Rainbow Chain-Up, utility work between East Amesbury and Spokeshute Street. Also watch out for road sweeping. On Highway 37, watch for frost heaves and slippery sections. And on Telegraph Creek Road, there are muddy sections and the rest area is closed at Burnt Trailer Tanzilla access. And this is what the roads were looking like around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, voter concerns in the Thompson Valley. A new study says the cold water fjords on the Central Coast may hold a key to sea star survival by serving as a marine refuge for critically endangered sunflower sea stars. The study's lead author, who's with the Hakai Institute, a group that conducts long-term scientific research, says a wasting disease wiped out more than 90% of the sunflower starfish on the Pacific coast. But she says the sea stars appeared to be protected from the disease by deep, cold trenches and the high salinity of the water. She says their research shows they need to keep ocean temperature in mind when they look at how to recover the populations of starfish. In the countdown to Election Day, CFTK News is taking a look at concerns of voters across the country. In the beautiful Thompson Valley down in Kamloops, BC, voters are considering their options. Here's CTV's British Columbia Bureau Chief, Andrew Johnson.
How's it going today?
Friendly greetings and fresh meat.
It is local beef, Devick's Ranch.
At Shop and Block in Kamloops, BC, people are hungry to keep their dollars in the community.
Everybody's asking for Canadian-made products, and it's really easy to answer around here.
In fact, most we speak to here ahead of the federal vote share the same beef.
Bloody New York real estate developers playing games.
But beyond that one issue, not everyone's on the same side in a city newly split into two ridings.
I would like to see change with Pierre, make drugs illegal again and do harder consequences for criminals.
Mark Carney and the Liberals are about building us up.
I think everybody's in someone's pocket one way or another.
Kamloops is one of Canada's sunniest spots, and for the past 20 years or so, this has been conservative country federally. It's a university town known for its sports tourism, forestry, and agriculture, including an emerging wine industry.
This is a hybrid varietal, so it does much better in the crazy weather that we get here.
At Monty Creek Winery, putting a cork in provincial trade barriers tops the election wish list.
Right now we can legally only sell wine direct to consumers in Alberta, Manitoba, and I think Nova Scotia. It would be a huge boost. It would open up so many markets.
In the tasting room, election talk turns to some of the country's biggest challenges.
The family doctor shortage is really difficult for a lot of people. The price it takes for younger people to get into single dwelling or even condos.
There is a belief here voters right now are feeling very engaged in this community of just over 100,000, described as a city with a small town feel.
Thanks for coming in. See you next time.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Kamloops, BC.
Turning to the markets now, Canadian and U.S. stock markets sank for a second straight day today, marking even sharper losses than Thursday as U.S. President Trump's tariffs stir recession fears among investors. The dollar dropped by 1/6 of a cent, gold dropped 86.30, oil fell by $4.96, natural gas dropped 30 cents, aluminum fell 43.50, the TSX was down 1,142 points, the Venture Index dropped 38 points, the Dow Jones was down 2,231 points, and the Nasdaq fell by almost 963. Still ahead, a Make-A-Wish come true. BC has given 2 rental subsidy programs for seniors and low-income families in the province a bump. The province says the average family supplement under its rental assistance program will go from $400 to $700 per month. It says seniors who qualify for shelter aid for elderly renters or SAFER will also see an increase of about $145 a month starting this month. Advocate Dan Levitt says while he's pleased by the subsidy increase, it's not tied to BC's allowable rent increase or inflation. Next, we get to hear the story of a Make-A-Wish Canada recipient whose wish was to come see the mountains. Here's CTV's Andrea Case.
No one thinks of that when you have a baby, to think about life expectancy. You just think of life. And so this was a different experience for us.
Lily's parents were both born with the cystic fibrosis gene. As a baby, she tested positive for the disease, which affects the lungs, digestive tract, and other organs. After years of illness, a breakthrough for a disease for which there is no known cure.
Pretty good. Trikafta has made it like a lot better. So Trikafta is the medicine that scientists came up with to like, it doesn't cure CF, but it also like doesn't not cure it. It's a miracle.
Last year, Lily qualified to be a recipient of Make-A-Wish Canada, an organization which creates life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses.
I've always been obsessed with trains since I was a little kid.
Parents are not involved in the child's wish-making decision.
I'm not going to lie, I was completely surprised. I did not know what she was going to wish. I did not know what she was thinking, but she'd seen a YouTube video about the Canadian and the trip across Canada on Via.
The trip, her choice, traveling 4,411 kilometers by train from Toronto to Vancouver.
Every little hill that we passed on the way to BC in Alberta, I was just like, is that a mountain? And Mom was like, no, you'll know a mountain when you see it. And I definitely indeed knew a mountain.
It took 97 hours or 4 days and gave Lily, her mother, and grandparents the trip of a lifetime.
I thought it was great before, but now I'm just like, it's confirmed. Canada's awesome.
Something Christina never knew she needed.
I order all their medications, I keep track of all of her appointments. There's a lot of effort that goes in that you don't really see when you have a chronic illness and you're managing a chronic illness. So to have a trip that really, I didn't have to do anything. I just got to show up and enjoy and just be a family, and that was really, really special part. So we're so grateful to Make-A-Wish.
And a lesson no child should ever have to learn.
I didn't know it was really hard for them, because they thought I was gonna die, right? But I didn't.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
And finally tonight, a New Westminster man makes magic on stage that impresses the best of the best. Here's CTV's Kevin Chirac with the story.
Well, how about that? You won another Fool Us trophy.
Yes. New Westminster's Vitaly Beckman has set another magic milestone.
I'll make sure to capture the moment.
Performing a trick that left famous magicians Penn and Teller dumbfounded.
So we just have to sit here and try to puzzle out how you do it. I mean, this is really a work of art. It's really gorgeous.
Vitaly appeared on Fool Us, a show where magicians perform their tricks as the veteran duo tries to decipher what just happened.
They watch you like a hawk. And also, the illusion I did was very complicated. Anywhere you like.
His illusion had host Brooke Burke arrange items in a certain way, including setting the hands of a small clock to wherever she wanted.
It is life that imitates art.
Then the reveal,
It's a masterpiece!
an oil painting depicting the exact same image.
It does combine engineering or science with art, because you have the inventive stage where you have to invent certain something that will do some of the magic, behind the scenes.
The trick combined Vitaly's greatest lifelong passions, magic and art. This marked Vitaly's third appearance on the show, fooling Penn and Teller every time, receiving the coveted FU, or Fool Us, trophy.
It opened a lot of doors, especially the first time I appeared on the show. Right after the show, I booked an off-Broadway run, and it was that was actually another big dream that came true.
He's now on tour, and Penn and Teller was so impressed they invited Vitaly to perform during their own show in Las Vegas, April 26th. Kevin Chirac, CTV News.
That's our news for now. We'll be back with more from the Northwest and beyond on Monday. In the meantime, you can catch Week in Review with Cale Maslin. Thanks for watching.